Hey, welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. We appreciate you guys for choosing to kick off today with the Wake Up Woodward crew. As the legend Greg Kelser also
You keep calling me legend. I'm going to go home and tell my wife.
You are the legend, bro.
I'm going to go home and tell her I'm a legend and see what she says.
You know what? No, I'm not going to try that. I'm not going to try that at all. I know my wife loves me, but she ain't going to lie to me.
Right.
So, but thank you guys, chat family, for being engaging, for staying tapped in, and as I always say, being on one word to Eduardo O'Neal. Go on ahead and smash that like button for the Woo crew and for Greg Kelser. Let's jump back into the scene.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Like I said, hearing about your connection with Earl Curitan, George Blaha, everything that you want to do as it relates to the camps and your journey in media. It's been an awesome thing to hear so far. And we got to jump into Detroit Pistons conversation as well. You've seen a lot of Detroit Pistons basketball, and I think one of the things I like a lot about you as an analyst is you don't mince your words. You're very, very real, and you get right to the truth of the matter with the Detroit Pistons. And obviously, the last couple years have not been good. I just wanted your kind of quick take on what they were and kind of what you're seeing in this transition to Trajan Langdon.
I think last year was truly a very, very tough experience for everybody that was involved in it. Not just the players on the floor and the coaches, we as broadcasters, but just everybody in the building, everybody affiliated. It was a tough year because no one saw that coming. The year began with a lot of enthusiasm, expectations. We thought that, with Monty Williams coming in as new coach, a few new players, that they would begin to make a path towards play-in or playoff contention. Yeah. And then the season started wonderfully. I remember after the first 3 games, hopes were incredibly high.
Yeah.
After they go down to Miami and nearly beat the Heat in a great game, and then go to Charlotte and went on the road and come back home and beat the Bulls in their opener. They're 2-1. They were they seemed to be doing it with defense first. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the bottom just fell out. We lost to Portland. I think we lost to maybe OKC or something, and we were on our way to a 28-game losing streak. Who could have ever have envisioned that? It still seems, unreal to even say that, 28-game losing streak.
For the Pistons, man.
Yeah. Goodness. So it started very difficult, and then we started losing players, and we just couldn't keep a firm lineup in there steady, and it got even worse. And when the season ended, just 14 wins, truly, truly disappointing for everybody. But I say that, I like to say that, through adversity, and that was great adversity, you grow, you learn, you become better. And I got to believe for the players that experienced that were a part of that, it's going to be a motivating force or factor for them moving forward, because you don't ever want to have that happen again. It's not who you are. You didn't get to this point by being a failure. So I would think that the energy and the focus to get to the season and get it going as soon as possible has to be foremost in everybody's minds. You want to clean that up. It's like in golf. You have a bad hole. You can't wait to get to the next hole because you want to try and erase that. Well, that's what these guys are, living with right now. It's a long summer or a long off season when you have a season like this and you're not in the playoffs. You got 6 months to marinate on this. So everybody should be working hard to get better and come into camp healthy and ready to get it going. I still believe in this team, and after what we saw yesterday and what's happening right now with the new leadership, I'm encouraged. I left the building, and you're right. You hear that same thing all the time. Every time there's a press conference introducing a new coach or a new GM or a new president, it's usually always the same expressions. But there was something that felt a little different because maybe of the stoicism that we saw in the faces of the gentlemen that were on the podium. Yeah. Making no promises, acknowledging that there's a lot of work to be done, but they seem to have a clear path and view and plan for making it happen, and hopefully sooner than later. So listening to J.B. Bickerstaff and of course Trajan Langdon yesterday, I left there thinking, okay, let's get it going.
Let's get it going.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Kelser, not to focus on the losing too much, but I just have sort of one final question. How thin is that line where a young team, young players, the line between being deflated or feeling defeated versus using that losing as motivation? I know when you were drafted to the Pistons, it wasn't like Dick Vitale was the coach, if I remember correctly. It's not like it was the most winning environment at that time. It took a little bit of time. How does this young team toe that line of being defeated versus using it as motivation to never happen again?
Well, I speak to you from experience. I had the same thing happen to me. Coming off a national championship at Michigan State, I'm drafted by the Pistons, who were in a rebuild, and we only won 16 games. And I can tell you, when you lose that many games, I could easily go back and find you 10 wins for the Pistons this past season, because there were at least 10 games that they could have, should have won.
That's facts.
And it was the same thing with us back in '79. We were a young team. We had 5 rookies on the team. We had 2 more players that were in their second year. So we weren't going anywhere in a 23-team league. You weren't going to win with youth like that, and we knew it, but we worked hard. We gave it the best we could, and we tried to stay together. This team this year did stay together. They still pulled for each other. There was no dissension or cracking or splintering or anything or finger pointing, anything like that. That's good. That speaks to the leadership that was there that kept that intact, because when you're losing, it can easily fragment. Most of the times it does. But the line you speak of is a very fine line. So fine that if you go back 2-3 years, we had a game in Oklahoma City late in the season. Oklahoma had a bunch of guys out there you'd never heard of. They were trying to map out their future and what they were going to do. And the Pistons were pretty much in the same boat. I mean, I really had to have a big roster in front of me to know who these players were, because many of them on the Oklahoma City side I had not heard of. Oklahoma City has the best record in the Western Conference last year. 2-3 years later, okay? So that's how fine that line is, and that's why you have hope that it doesn't have to stay this way for very long if you're a Pistons fan. You make the right decisions, you catch some luck, you get some good health, you make a couple of good drafts and that sort of things. Things can turn around in basketball maybe much quicker than they can in some of the other sports.
Yeah, and speaking of that fine line, you mentioned there were about 10 games where the Pistons maybe let it slip away. Some of their problems with their youth or coaching or whatnot maybe cost them some wins. Do you believe the Pistons brought in the right players, the right coach, the right president of basketball associations to help get those 10 wins, plus maybe some more?
I certainly hope so, and yes, I do think so. There's one loss that stands out in my mind and still bothers me, because it happened right at midcourt in front of George and myself in New York late in the season. There was a foul that occurred right there as DiVincenzo just ramrodded Asar Thompson off of a loose ball. Pistons had a lead. It was in the waning seconds of the game. It was a clear foul. The NBA admitted it afterwards, but that played to the respect that you don't get when you're a struggling basketball team. Asar Thompson was blown up football style off the ball, no call. New York gets the basketball and then scores and gets an and one at the bucket with under 10 seconds to go to win that basketball game. That should not have happened. Now, that was on the officials in my mind, but there were plenty other things that the Pistons themselves were responsible for, whether it was not getting a key rebound, maybe missing a free throw or, a shot that they would normally make that could have spelled the difference between winning and losing, missing a defensive assignment, whatever. I know they lost 2 games, I believe, on tap-ins, where if they could have got a rebound, tap-ins at the buzzer. So, again, easily could go back and find your 10 wins. But, yeah, the people coming in, I like what they're doing. They're mixing really good, solid veterans with the youth that they have, and the veterans can still play. They still got a lot of juice left. They can perform on the court. But additionally, these guys that they're bringing in are used to playing, not missing games. That's a good lesson for the young guys to see and be around and experience. These guys going out there, regardless of whether they are nicked up a little bit, they go out, they play, they perform, they're professional. That's what you want your young players to see on a day in, day out basis. in the practice facility, how they gear themselves up, how they prepare to get ready, how they come with the right attitude. So that's why you try and mix veterans with the young players, and you hope that it mixes and meshes the way it's supposed to. Houston's doing that very thing right now, and they're having success with it.
They are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Greg, thanks again for joining us today, man. Cade Cunningham just signed his rookie max, 5 years, $224 million. And last year, you can just see the toll that the season took on this kid, man, with all the losing and everything going on. But even through all of that, he still stuck through it the best he could at the podium and things of that nature. Now, Trajan wants to build this the right way, and I'm in total agreement to that, but on the same token, you never want to tell a Detroit fan to be patient, you know? So while Trajan wants to not cut corners and build this thing the right way, I do feel like there needs to be some kind of urgency to not, you know, let the losing continue too long, because you have a star like Cade Cunningham now on a rookie max contract that could ask out, before the contract is over. Where do you feel the balance needs to be between trying to accelerate this process, but also taking your time and doing it the right way?
It's a delicate blend, but you have to, I think you have to understand that where patience is required, you can't resist it. You gotta go with it. Now, if something materializes that can help you accelerate, but not derail the progress, then you make that decision at that time.
Yeah.
I like the approach. I like the fact that they're not promising playoffs next year. They don't have to get to the playoffs for the season to be a tremendous success.
Yeah.
But we want to see that progress.
Yeah.
You know, think about the Lions and what they did year before last.
Yeah.
You know, they started off miserably.
He did.
And then they got it going. And then people got a little bit more excited about it. And they finished that season beautifully a couple of years ago. I remember they won that game in Green Bay, kept them out of the playoffs, and won in a place that's very tough for the Lions to win over the decades. And then they were able to parlay that into what happened last year. Same thing with the Pistons. There's no magic elixir that you can sprinkle over everybody and have it and guarantee that it will change. But here's the thing I find. When you start to get a few wins, when you start to experience a little success, now you start to expect those wins. And even in the most dire situations, you start to believe that we're gonna achieve. We're gonna be okay. It's the same thing with losing. When you lose a few games and then people get hurt and then the bottom starts to become a little shaky, you almost expect something bad to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So it can happen. I think it can happen fast, but you have to be smart, and leadership has to be very, very wise in knowing when to accelerate and maybe when to pump the brake just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the responsibility that Trajan Langdon and his staff now has. And as far as Cade Cunningham, I'm very happy they signed him. I think he's an absolute beast. I think he's a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, he demonstrated that when he played, especially late in the season, and they were going nowhere. But when he was out on the floor, man, he was fun to watch because he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And the things that he's able to do with the ball in his hands in the mid-range, nobody can guard him. The one thing I say he has to improve on his ball care, because he's going to draw double teams. He's got to be able to pass out of those double teams without the ball being deflected or stolen. I'd like to see him get maybe a few more rebounds, but he can pass the basketball. He can score it. And on nights when his three-point shot is going, then 30 points is pretty much guaranteed.
Nice.
I love to hear that. And you know what, Greg? We got one more question. We got our Sparty in the house, JB Smooth.
Go
What up,
green,
dog,
JB.
Mr. Kelser, thank you so much once again, as KG said, for joining us here today. And let me tell you right now, it's just an uphill battle because I'm the only Spartan on this show.
Damn.
That makes you unique.
I know, right? So every single day, you don't understand how much of an uphill battle it is. But I want to take you back for a moment and just show you a picture of not only yourself, but you and Magic Johnson back in 1979 at MSU. And my question to you is, are you still in connection with Magic Johnson? Do you all still talk? Have you seen him lately? What's new with Magic Johnson?
It's probably been maybe a year since I last saw Urban. And yes, we are still very much in contact. All my teammates, we're very close. We experienced something that is rare and unique, and it bonded us for life. So, I might talk to Jay Vincent one day. I might talk to Terry Donnelly another day. I might talk to Urban. I might talk to Ron Charles. We were all very close. And that picture that you just showed was taken at the Brody complex on the basketball court. We had just gotten brand new Mercedes.
Really?
Okay, great.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Stun on them.
Yeah, we had just bought brand new 1979 Mercedes 450 SELs. Woo. Mine was a beautiful shade of red, and his was a powder blue. And we were very happy, proud, and so we decided, a photographer got with us, and we rode around campus taking pictures. We took pictures in front of Jennison Fieldhouse. We took pictures on the basketball court. And we didn't know that those pictures were going to be in pretty much every national publication the next day. They were in newspapers all across the country with the heading, this is what NBA stardom or basketball, great future in basketball can provide. And believe it or not, I still have mine. I still have my car, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 45 years. It looks just like it does on that picture, and it runs beautifully.
That is awesome. This has been awesome, man.
That's
to have you on and kind of hear about the man behind just the basketball. This has been.
If I had known you were going to show that
brother.
picture, I would have driven it and put it right out front.
Wow, we have to set something up.
We might have to come back and. We
got to do round two. We got to do round two. We'll definitely come by and check out the camps as well. And it was cool to hear about you and Magic. I know you expounded on that at St. Cecilia when they were doing their kind of rededication to the renovation of the gym in that area. It was just cool to hear all the different legends, including you and Magic, all of the different relationships that started right in Detroit.
Yeah,
it was an awesome story to hear.
Yeah, I met Irvin on the steps of St. Cecilia.
Yeah.
We met each other for the very first time, shook hands right there on the steps. I was a senior in high school. He was a sophomore. We met, we greeted each other. I knew who he was. He knew who I was. One of the things that Michigan State said to me when they were recruiting me was that our goal is to sign you in 1975, sign Urban Johnson in 1979, and we believe that if we're able to do that, you guys will win a national championship before you leave. Ooh. And it happened.
Wait. So they knew. They called the shots with Special K,
yeah,
Magic Johnson. They knew that was the formula, and it worked out.
It did work out. I mean, it's easier said than done, but Urban was right there in Lansing, so they were well aware of him as a high schooler. If this were today, Urban wouldn't play high school basketball. He'd go straight to the pros because he could have done it then. He was that good.
Wow. Can I take in one last Pistons question related to your time at Michigan State, too? Because you were, if I'm not mistaken, the first Big Ten player ever with 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds as a forward. I want to ask about Jalen Duren. What advice would you give, or what's the next step in his game? He's so young, but there's so much potential. He does have a tall, playmaking guard to get him the rock. From your experience, what would you say to Jalen Duren, or what is that next step?
I would encourage him to watch as much film as he can of Miami's Bam Adebayo, because they are similar.
We just said this yesterday.
Oh, did you?
I love this.
We did. That's crazy.
Their bodies are similar.
Let's go.
Yes. Their skills are similar. Both have great jumping ability, big hands. Excuse me.
God bless you. Healthiness.
Hay fever in here? No, I think that the sky really is the limit for Jalen Duren, because he's gifted, he's athletic. He doesn't ever have to be a three-point shooter, because Bam isn't. I think Bam maybe made 5 or 6 3-pointers last year. One of them took the Pistons down.
We were there.
Yeah,
we were in the building.
That was the 04 night.
That's what I'm talking about. See, stuff like crazy stuff like that.
He could have held the ball till the end of the game for the last shot.
He took the shot too early. Yeah, there you go.
Learning lessons.
Yeah, learning lessons. So I think that Duren can do the same thing. I think he can be a great rim protector. He does have to maybe improve his footwork around the basket, understanding what is a good shot, what is not. Continue to work on the offensive glass, and he could be an all-star in this league. He's young. He's only like 20. So I think it all will depend on how hard he's willing to work, study, and put the time in to make himself one of the best players in the league.
Let's go. I like this, man.
So great.
Community impact, hope for our Detroit Pistons, and just being able to talk to an absolute legend. We'll keep saying that. In Greg Kelser. You know, we're going to hold you to it now. We got to have you back for a round 2. And
We'll do
next
it.
time you got to bring that Mercedes.
I will.
Yes.
It's got to be in the spring, summer, or fall though. It sees no snow.
Let's go.
Doing it
Let's
right.
go. He already
Doing
knows.
it right.
That's how you know that he is from Detroit. I love it. Thank you for your time, Greg.
Thank you, guys.
This has been awesome.
I've enjoyed it.
Hey, chat family, definitely smash those like buttons. Put whatever emoji you can to support Greg Kelser giving us his time this morning. Also, make sure you guys stay tapped in with the basketball camps as well. I have that email address as well, or the website to sign up, gregorykelser.com/basketball.
Gregory Kelser.
Gregory Kelser. Yes. Can't wait, man. Thank you, Greg.